Let's talk about Surrey Police. They've set up the Jog Squad. Undercover, I mean, this is letting you know that never let it be said that the police's war on crime doesn't continue vigilantly apace. The Surrey Constabulary has set up the Jog Squad, a team of undercover female officers posing as joggers, going out jogging in order to catch male catcallers.
Right.
Now, I don't want to, no one condones catcalling. It can make women certainly feel uncomfortable and sometimes feel threatened. So I'm not trying to undermine suggestions that catcalling isn't sort of a problem. Of course, it would be better if it didn't happen, and if the police can stop it, then fine. But this is a jog squad. These people are. This is a proper squad where women are dressing as joggers. We're WPCs, female coppers, dressing as joggers, and then going out in order to catch males who sort of shout at them and wolf whistle and all that. Inspector John Vale, Surrey's Violence Against Women and Girls Safer Spaces lead. I'll say that again. This is Inspector John Vale. He is Surrey's Violence Against Women and Girls Safer Spaces lead. Bit sexist, isn't it? Shouldn't that be a female officer? Anyway, it's a bloke. He said that catcalling was far too common. And then he went on to say that while he accepted that this kind of behaviour, men catcalling, is not necessarily criminal, it can escalate to more serious sexual offending. Well, that's just a theory. In the meantime, John Vale and his mates are spending taxpayers' money getting WPCs to dress up as joggers to catch men who wolf whistle at them. Now, good, catcalling is bad. I wish it would end. But surely there is a better way of spending taxpayers' money when it comes to tackling crime, and I mean serious crime. Serious rates of crime all over the country are rocketing, the rates of conviction are plummeting, and Surrey Police have set up the Jog Squad. What the hell is going on?
I would much rather what they'd set up is some officers going around talking on their mobile phones to catch people that are mugging citizens for their smartphones and other devices. You know, let's try and tackle the real stuff rather than, as our headline says, hunt pre-crimes. You know, it's hardly the worst of offences anyway, is it? I mean, it's annoying, it's a bit irritating. Actually, you know, things like building sites have changed a lot, not just because I'm getting older and don't get the catcalls so much these days, but because of a cultural change. You know, in the construction industry in particular, they now make a big point of having expected standards of behaviour and so on. So I think that all this has changed a lot anyway. I'm sure younger women still find it a real irritation and annoying and so on. But is it a good use of police time? Of course it isn't. You know, just an absurd use of this. And I mean, I'd love to see how they're doing this. I mean, are these women wearing particularly skimpy shorts to try to get higher rates of encounters?
Well, there's a story in the Times. No, not particularly. You know, no more than any other female jogglers. You know, quite tight outfits and all that. I suppose they look quite sort of fetching. No more than any other woman. So no, I don't think they've gone out of their way to sort of dress in a particularly sexual jogging way. But as the Free Speech Union said, this is actually, there is a sinister side to this, because what this guy, John Vale, Surrey's, I love his job. What's your job? I am Surrey's Violence Against Women and Girls Safer Spaces lead. That's his job. Anyway, what the Free Speech Union are saying is this is a sort of bizarre social experiment investigating pre-crimes, because what he's worried about is not so much the catcalling, but what he thinks catcalling leads to. When I was at university, I used to work on building sites, and I used to work among a lot of guys who spent most of the day, every time a girl walked past, wolf whistling, "Oi, darling, go on, get him off," and all this kind of stuff. You know, I didn't approve of that, middle-class lad amongst all of that stuff, but I didn't particularly mind it. But the idea that those guys, you know, who were decent blokes, that this would lead to them becoming rapists or something like that, absolute nonsense, absolute nonsense.
Complete and utter nonsense. I mean, there's so much of this stuff from the police, though, isn't there? This kind of well-intentioned but totally misguided initiatives which are so out of step with what the public are actually crying out for, which is for them to tackle the real crimes. I mean, I'm actually really in favour of undercover policing insofar as it can help us, lead us to actual criminals and make the streets safer places. And they should be, I mean, how about, for example, if they're going to if we're going to adopt this strategy of pre-crimes or just putting people out there, why do the police never stop any of the masked up migrants on bikes doing the fast food deliveries? I mean, that's an obvious target. The police never randomly stop those people and ask whether they have the right to be working. You know, there's so many things they could be doing. What about tackling people who are openly smoking drugs on the street? And on and on and on we go. But no, we're going to have a jog squad going around tackling catcalls. I reckon they'll hardly get any.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Inspector John Vale, Surrey's Violence Against Women and Girls Safer Spaces lead. You know, I don't know Inspector Vale, but I'm just kind of thinking he needs to get a life, this guy.
He's not clues, is he?
This is what he said. He said that, you know, catcalling, particularly for women joggers, is far too common. He said, so listen to this. One of our officers was honked at within 10 minutes. Don't laugh. One of our officers was honked at within 10 minutes. Then another vehicle slowed down, beeping and making gestures just 30 seconds later. That's how frequent it is. Someone slowing down, staring, shouting, even if it's not always criminal, it can have a huge impact on people's everyday lives and stops women from doing something as simple as going for a run. Is that person going to escalate? Are they a sexual offender? We want to manage that risk early. Well, that last paragraph, that last statement, I think is sinister and worrying. The rest of it is right out of a Carry On film. It's just absurd comedy. What on earth is, you know, oh, somebody wolf whistled me today. It had a huge impact on my everyday life. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's a really pretty simple way of dealing with this, and that is to put earphones in, put sunglasses on, put your shades on, and just push on as a runner. And focus on the sport that you're doing. I'm not saying it's nice. I'm not saying it's not something we'd all rather didn't happen. But there's no justification for allocating police resources to it. What are they then going to do? So the joggers are then going to take the car registration, are they, of some blokes that are just sort of leering out of the window? Are they then going to track those men down to their homes and send, you know, 3 police cars and some Alsatians to go and tackle this pre-criminal? I mean, that is actually what they will plan to do. And it's just such a completely ludicrous use of resources.
Yeah, one of the undercover joggers, PC Abby Haywood, she said this behaviour is either a precursor to something more serious. I don't think there's any evidence of this at all, by the way. There's no evidence that someone who wolf whistles or cat calls women is a potential rapist. I think they're just making this up as they go along. Anyway, she says this behaviour is either a precursor to something more serious or it's ignorance. All right, you could say that, fair enough. And then she says, and it's fixable. How?
Well, let's see. You know, we can put in some FOIs after a few months to find out how many cat callers they reprimanded, how many police cars were sent to the properties of cat callers, And what is the outcome of this? Will these be recorded as non-hate crime?
Yeah, exactly. That's the worst thing. They're saying it's not necessarily criminal. Well, if it's not criminal, what's it got to do with the police?